Jasper City officials have been touting tax increment finance districts, but a new study is questioning their effectiveness. We'll tell you more. Plus, Kimball International has reported more financial growth, and Purdue Extension educator Jan Dugan discusses beans tonight on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with a new study on tax increment finance districts that calls into question how beneficial they really are to communities, including those communities here locally. The study, which is authored by Ball State economist Dr. Michael Hicks, poses several potential problems with the TIF model. Hicks's study argues that though TIF districts do generate funds that cities can use for other purposes outside of their budgets, using them heavily often leads to higher tax rates in areas outside of the TIF district. Hicks also argues that they can be dangerous for communities who are already struggling financially. The study asks that state lawmakers take a closer look at TIF and its impacts over long periods of time, which is when the impacts are mostly felt. Of course, the city of Jasper just implemented a TIF district earlier this year after several months of discussion and debate surrounding the issue. The district covers nearly 1/3 of the entire city and 90% of its industrial area. Mayor Terry Seitz pushed hard for TIF, arguing it was necessary for economic development. Seitz also recently stated that the city had answered many questions about TIF.
We heard from a lot of people at both the last two meetings of the council. We've had a lot of input and questions answered in between. It's been a long time coming. This was identified and very thoroughly encouraged in the 2010 comprehensive plan adopted by the city and built by the citizens. It says create this. So I'm very comfortable with getting us to this point. Whatever would have happened tonight, I think we had done our work to make sure that people are informed about what this could be.
As mentioned, TIF has not been without its detractors. Those in Jasper who have expressed concerns include mayoral candidates Wayne Sheeter and Steve Messmer, as well as Jasper City Councilman Kevin Manley. Other concerns have come at the county level, including from the Du Bois County Council. Council President Greg Kendall says the Ball State study brings to light questions not only about taxes, but even about its effects on city budgeting. Kendall says though he doesn't see TIF as a bad thing overall, the city needs to be sure of what TIF involves as they move forward with it.
All I ask of my city is that they really take close looks at this to make sure that they're making the right moves, because not all of these TIF areas work. A lot of them fail. And what do you do then when it fails? Are the taxpayers going to have to pick up the remnants of what's left, or what goes after that?
Kendall says the county's budget constraints could also become more of a problem if the district does not work out as planned for the city. Now you can read the full study by going online to the address on your screen. Jasper-based Kimball International is reporting more growth in earnings and progress on getting a better operating margin. The company released its numbers from the second quarter of fiscal year 2015. The company says net sales were at just over $151 million this quarter, which is a 9% increase from the second quarter of fiscal year 2014. Kimball International also reported a 21% increase in orders over last fiscal year's second quarter. The company says increases in orders from the hospitality, government, and other commercial vertical markets were enough to overcome a drop in orders in the finance, healthcare, and education vertical markets. Company officials say the effective tax rate was up to 101.5% for this fiscal year's second quarter. Last fiscal year's second quarter, it was 45.8%. Now, the company says a lower combined state tax rate following the spinoff of Kimball Electronics that required a $400,000 unfavorable adjustment to deferred taxes in the current quarter was the driving factor behind that increase. Finally, the company did see a drop in cash and cash equivalents during the second quarter. Those came in at $49 million, and at the end of the first quarter, they were at $136.6 million. Now, Kimball officials are attributing that drop to transferring $63 million to the Kimball Electronics subsidiary after the October 31st, 2014 spinoff date. In a news release, CEO Bob Schneider says the company is very pleased with the sales and order growth over the last quarter. He says the company is committed to continually improving operations and long-term profitability. The Indiana General Assembly is continuing discussions on how to fix the state's education system, and a local representative is among those working on the various solutions. District 74 State Representative Lloyd Arnold says he has been working with several different bills, some that he authored and others that were authored by other representatives. One of the bills he's been working on is designed to help teachers in the form of tax credits for school supplies that they buy. That bill, known as House Bill 1005, is currently in the House Ways and Means Committee after it passed through hearings with the House Education Committee last week. Arnold says helping teachers in this area can also serve to help college students who are looking to education as a potential career.
If you know many of your teachers, and my dad was a teacher, my wife's a librarian right now, and so many things that she has to buy out of her pocket. So when she's buying those things out of her pocket, we're trying to give those people a tax credit. I think it's up to $200. And it's not huge, but it's something and to start with. And then last year, you talk about someone becoming a teacher. We actually passed a bill last year that gives incentives towards people that are going into education to help with their paying for their funding of their school after they've completed it.
Arnold says though it has been tough being a teacher in Indiana over the last few years with funding cuts to education, he says the profession is still a viable one for students who are searching career options.
Obviously, we want our best and brightest. We want those people teaching our kids. That's what I want teaching, my kids. But I think if you look at it over the years, it's a curve, and a ripple effect going up and down because 25 years ago there was a big demand for nurses. And then it kind of went back off. Then it was for teachers, so it actually goes up and down, that how many people are going to that field. I would highly encourage someone to do it. I know some people that are frustrated with the way some of the things have been done in the past. They may not want to do that field, but I think it's still a great field. It's a very admirable field, and I hope we continue to have a lot of bright young people go into that profession.
The Indiana Department of Workforce Development backed up Arnold's assertion earlier this week with the release of its 50 hottest jobs list. K-12 teacher came in at number 2 on the list. Additionally, Arnold has authored House Bill 1201, which would change the makeup of the State Board of Education in light of all the controversy surrounding it. The bill would require the board to have 13 members instead of 11, and all of them would need to be licensed educators. Earlier this year, Arnold stated changing the makeup of the board would go a long way towards settling controversy.
In the last few years, we've not received that. Currently, if you were like on the state medical board, you'd have everybody on that board would actually be licensed doctors. And then if you were on, the State Real Estate Commission, 9 of those members out of the 12, out of the 9 congressional districts, would actually be licensed realtors. Well, currently, out of our state board, only 4 of those members have to be licensed educators. So for me, I've changed it up for a little bit. Hopefully, we get some movement on it.
Thus far, the bill has not been heard by the House Education Committee. The DuBois County Humane Society says it will be holding a microchip clinic coming up this weekend. DCHS says the clinic will take place this upcoming Sunday, February 8th at the facility off of Warnsing Road on Jasper's South Side. The clinic will run from 1 till 3 p.m. and the cost of microchipping is $10. Linda Davis with the Humane Society says this is an offer pet owners should not refuse.
I know I paid over $100 to get my 2 dogs microchipped, so this $10 per animal is really a good deal. Also cats, if they're over 2 pounds, they probably have enough fat on them to get microchipped.
Pets brought in for the clinic will be fitted with the microchip, which is designed to link the pet with the owner's contact information. The chip is stored with a unique identification number through 24 Pet Watch, which the Society says will make it more likely that your pet returns to you safely and quickly. Now, the Society says pet microchipping is a common and safe procedure. The microchip is planted in the neck, and the process takes only a few seconds to complete. And finally tonight, the investigation into the disappearance of a Bloomfield woman on New Year's Eve is continuing. Indiana State Police say detectives continue to get tips and leads on where 18-year-old Marina Belter may be. They say all of that information is still being followed up on. Belter was last seen on New Year's Eve getting into a 4-door 2009 through 2011 model year Mercury Milan outside of the Bloomfield IGA where she worked. She was wearing blue jeans with rhinestone designs on the back pockets, a black and purple jacket, and Nike tennis shoes described as white with a pink swoosh and black trim at the time she disappeared. Anyone who has any information is asked to call the Indiana State Police Bloomington Post at 332-4411. You can also contact Sergeant Kurt Durnall through the Bloomington Post's Facebook and Twitter pages with new information. The family is continuing with the Facebook page that was set up shortly after Belter disappeared. You can continue to help in those efforts by going to facebook.com/find Marina Belter. All right, coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Guxell, and Inform with Jan Dugan. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.